Awesome. All right. Well, good morning, friends. Happy Friday. I know we all survived the first week of March. Congratulations. We are charging the storm and we're running through it all together. I am super excited to have Sean Ybarra with me this morning. Those of you that don't know Sean is one of my top 20 percenter and my producing agent here in my office. And he is also part of my ALC, so he's one of my board members, and he's also one of my mentor as well. So those of you that don't know Sean or haven't seen Sean, which would be very shocking because he's kind of everywhere. Yeah, well, let's just kick it off because we have only a short amount of time with our friends this morning. So Sean, please, welcome and thank you for taking the time. I know you're not an early riser, so I do appreciate you getting up and being here with us. We'll run through it. Tell us a little bit about who is Sean Ybarra.
Sure. So I'll take you back from the beginning. So I grew up in the South Bay. I went to Redondo Union. I went to college at Loyola Marymount over there by LAX in El Segundo. And I actually studied communications and marketing because my initial plan was actually to be a talent agent. I wanted to work at like CAA, like one of those places, and I had an internship there and I started working there when I got out of college and I graduated, and I lasted there about 6 months. And then I was like, you know what, I absolutely just don't like this industry. I don't like the work I do. I don't like the people I have to deal with. And so I quit without a backup plan.
Wow.
And so at the time, I had a friend who was super wealthy, and I was like, what does your family do? You guys seem like you got it together. Like, well, my family does real estate. So I said, okay, you know what, that's what I'll do too. And so I hopped on Groupon and I got my license, and, starting off, didn't know what to do. So I was just like, well, I didn't know that, I didn't know about Keller Williams or anything that, KW offered. I was just like, I'm gonna go back to old reliable. I'll hop on Craigslist and look for a job. And I found this little boutique place all the way down in Newport Beach. Now, keep in mind, I still lived in Torrance. Okay. Wow. So I would commute every day from Torrance down to Newport Beach, this little boutique office that had basically like no infrastructure. It was like me, the broker, and his assistant. And I actually ended up staying there for about a year. But I just didn't have any training because obviously a boutique firm doesn't have the kind of infrastructure a brokerage like KW has, right? So I was like, well, I need to make some money because I haven't sold anything in like a year or so. So I ended up going into the commercial sector before an asset manager position. I was basically an assistant to the assistant of the asset manager. And that was over in downtown LA. And I worked there for a couple of years. I ended up transferring to another place in the South Bay, Hermosa Beach. Is this small little private equity firm. This guy was a private investor, and he owned, I think it was like 350 7-Elevens, Circle K's, and all that kind of stuff. And I was in charge of renegotiating the leases. I was in charge of the acquisition team, so I'd review, the profits of the company, look everything over. And I was also in charge of disposition, working with, because these are mostly out of state, right? So I was in charge of working with the brokers, selling off, make sure we're maximizing our profits, all that kind of stuff, checking cap rates or whatever. I did that for a while. And then I worked at another asset management firm all the way up until about 2019. And then at the end of 2019, I decided, I've got a little nest egg. What I'm going to do is I'm going to invest in land myself. And so I went out and I got myself, my LLC made, got my broker's license, and took out business loan, bought up a bunch of land, and my company officially opened its doors on March 10th, 2020.
Wow. During the pandemic.
Right, 3 days before they announced the global shutdown.
Wow.
So I did that and, did okay for myself, but it still wasn't what I wanted to do. What I always wanted to do was actually sell residential real estate. And so, but at this time I was like, well, there's a stigma about residential real estate in the commercial world. And so I was like, should I do this? And my friends were like, oh, don't do residential. You should come back to commercial and do this and that. But the reality is in commercial, it's got a completely different environment, right? The people are usually not as welcoming and as fun as the people that you have like in our office, for example. And so I decided just to bite the bullet. I went into residential real estate. I signed up, I think, with you guys in September of 2021. But I had this limiting belief in my mind of, oh, it's September, October, November, December, it's the holidays, nothing's going to happen. And so I literally put myself off for like 4 months
Wow.
until January. And then in January of 2022, I said, okay, let's do this. And I just kind of hit the ground running and never looked back. And I was pretty fortunate to be able to make it, as well as I did and have such a successful year as I did. And
Mhm.
now I'm looking forward to this, even with, as they say, the storm is here. So, like your board says, it's time to charge the storm, and I've came up with a game plan, and now it's time to put everything in action.
I love that. Yeah, and you stated that, you've kind of been around. And why did you choose our office and our organization? Like, I'm curious to hear from someone like you that, you've kind of been at several places and several brokerages. Why KW?
So this is going to sound funny, but ever since I started like researching the residential brokerages like years ago,
Mhm.
um, it started off with KW's color palette. I really like the black, white, and red. So I was like, okay, that's a color scheme that I'm proud to put on a business card. I'm proud to put on a flyer and a website.
Right.
And it wasn't until I really dove headfirst into like the KW kind of culture that I was like, oh, there's a lot of stuff that they offer at this place and this brand. As for our specific brokerage, when I was my first year of college, I went to Marymount, which is right there up on the hill. It's no
Mhm.
longer there. Now it's UCLA. Go
Boo.
Bruins.
No offense to any Bruins.
But I lived on 24th Street, and I always loved San Pedro. I always really loved RPV. San Pedro's got its charm. RPV is just such a beautiful area. And so when it came to selecting places, I looked at all the KWs that are around us. And I remember just walking into the our branch and being like, it feels much more warm. It feels very welcoming there. I like the people that I met. I got the little tour around the place, and I was like, well, I love San Pedro anyways. It just makes sense. So I decided to call this home, and I can't imagine going anywhere else.
Oh, thank you. Well, we love that. Yeah. So residential is kind of where you're at now. Give me a little
Mhm.
bit of what does a day in Sean Ybarra's in team, look like from the moment you wake up and kind of, how do you prepare yourself and how are you charging the storm today?
So when I wake up, first thing I do, obviously, after you roll out of bed, shower, shave, whatever you gotta do, make my cup of coffee. I like to watch a little bit of YouTube before I start my morning. I usually watch guys, they're the real estate guys that I watch, and they're producing videos on such a massive scale, 2 to 3 a day of like 30-minute long form videos. So I like to watch one or two of those before I come in. It gives me a little bit of idea of like what's going on in the market, what's going on in the neighborhood. It's a really good video. It gives me an idea of what kind of content to produce. So by the time I get into the office, right, first thing I usually do is I check my emails to see if there's anything going on with my escrows, if anyone's contacting me for a showing, or if my show times have been approved or rejected, whatever. From then obviously respond to those, take care of those, and then I do try a time block. So I dedicate about 2 hours to fixing up my CRM every day when I come in. If I have a new contact, if I've met somebody, I make sure that they're not only in my CRM on a smart plan, but also like in my MailChimp, because I do a weekly newsletter on top of the smart plans I send out to people. I do about 2 weekly newsletters every week, one on Monday, one on Friday. And it ranges everything from, the most recent one I sent out was fun stuff that's coming from the South Bay in March. So, Torrance has the Cherry Blossom Festival, Redondo Beach has the Kite Festival coming up, and most of my clients are within the South Bay, so they care about stuff that's going on. I try to keep them informed. So after I get done with like, whatever content I want to produce, whether it's for TikTok or my newsletter or whatever, um, I usually will then start doing my phone calls. I have a little bit of a different way that I like to do phone calls, right? I'm not really a cold call person. That's never been my strong suit. It's one of the things I hate about commercials, that you are expected to do so many cold calls every day. It's about 150 to 200 on an average day. So my calls, I call my sphere, right? My friends, family, if there's anyone that's expressed interest to me at an open house, But if I'm calling friends and family, then obviously that's a very different conversation than if I'm calling someone I met at an open house, right?
Right.
So I spend 2 to 3 hours talking to people. If they can't, if they can't talk to me on the phone, then I will have just a text chat with them. Hey, how's it going? What are you up to? And the thing that I always tell everybody, I was teaching it when I was doing Ignite, was that the way I do things is when I have a conversation, when I call up someone in my sphere of influence, right? I will have a conversation with them, just a completely organic conversation, following that Ford method, right? Family, occupation, recreation, dreams, right? And it's not that your chat with a friend or a family member has to be a formula, but it's those are the topics, right? And inevitably, when I say, hey, how's work going for you? What are you doing? Did you get that promotion or did you change jobs, whatever? The question is inevitably reciprocated, right? Well, I'm doing XYZ at work. What are how's work going for you? What are you doing? Oh, well, I'm still in real estate. I'm doing residential now, but I still do commercial here and there. So please keep in mind if you have anyone that's looking to buy, sell, lease, or invest, I'd really appreciate you keeping me in mind. And then usually I'll crack a joke about it, like, because if you don't, I'm gonna know.
Right.
And I find that way I kind of keep it light, right? My whole system is realistically based off of strengths and weaknesses. I know what I'm good at and I know what I'm not good at. I know what I like to do. I know what I don't like to do, right? So one of the things I really believe is that if you don't enjoy doing something, you're not going to do it.
Agreed.
And that's human nature, right? So if I dislike cold calling, I'm not going to say, okay, I'm going to cold call 8 hours today, because I know me, I know I'm not going to do it. So I try to play into my strengths and weaknesses, what I am good at, just chatting with people, building that rapport, social media, content creation, looking for fun stuff to do. And that's kind of how I stay in front of my people. And then my smart plans on command allow me to stay in front of them regardless, even if I forget to call them for a while, or, I forget to send them a newsletter or something. It allows me to still kind of stay in front of them. Depending on the day of the week, if it's like a Tuesday with an RPV or Wednesday with a San Pedro Open, I will attend those when I can. Try to meet the agents out there so I could try to find and work my open houses. You know, Truth be told, within the last, probably 4 to 6 weeks, I've been lacking on my open houses, but that's really what I built my business on. So, I was really trying to book about 2 open houses every week, one on Saturday, one on Sunday, just a standard time, 1 to 4 p.m. And, open houses are really where I built up my business. I came in without a sphere, or without a very big sphere, And the one thing that I always feel like is people in your social sphere, they want to know that you know what you're doing, right? So they almost let other people be the guinea pig. So
Yeah.
if you're a person that doesn't have a big sphere, your sphere is not very receptive. Open houses, in my opinion, are really where it's at. Because it gives you that social proof, you're working with strangers, and then it allows you to show other people in your sphere, hey, look, not only do I know what I'm doing, but I got this thing closed. This is the deal I got it for, and I feel like there's no such thing as shameless self-promotion. So if you can get $40,000 off the purchase price, if you can get $30,000 worth of credits or repairs, I personally don't think there's any shame in advertising it, because you're letting people know, hey, look, this is what I can do for you. So that's kind of my day to day. Come in, check my emails, I respond to people. I call my sphere, I send out a newsletter, create some content, make sure everyone's on a smart plan, and then I'm trying to hunt for open houses. But my open house hunting, I try to do strategically, right? I don't want, if I'm farming San Pedro, I don't want to do open house in like Cerritos, right?
Right.
I'm trying to build up my brand in my farm. So whenever I try to do a farm, I try to do it within my farm or as close to it as I possibly can.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That completely makes sense. And and thank you for that. That's a very big day. I mean, that's a lot of follow-ups, a lot of holding yourself accountable, which is amazing. So you had mentioned Smart Plans and MailChimp. So obviously
Mhm.
you're living in command. And those of you that don't know, actually, Sean is also my technology committee here in our office. What are your thoughts on command? And I mean, you've been on a couple of platforms with CRMs and
Mhm.
a lot of let's call it box office, technology. What is your
Right.
opinion on command on what we currently have in our organization?
Well, I think just over the past year, the improvements that have been made to command have been absolutely massive. Because when I first, when I came into residential and everyone's like, CRM, I was like, okay, I know about CRMs. I'm gonna go with HubSpot. And so I use HubSpot, but it's not exactly the most user friendly. If you have someone to set up all the tools and the widgets for you, it can be a bit of a pain. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to use HubSpot. I'm going to try out Command. And so I just started putting people into Command, but it just recently had a major update. So, before Command, did it have its issues? Yes, of course. But those have been patched, and they've been patched in a big way. So what Command does now, it does very, very well. For me, I love Command. Like I told you, in the office today, I was like, for the last month and a half, I've been just diving into Command because I want to really use everything it has to offer. And I think that for the fact that Command is wrapped into our monthly fee, and it's basically a service that we have access to for free, is pretty big. Because if you look at any of the other big CRMs, right? Boomtown, Bold Leads, Real Geeks, Sync, Chime, all that. They have a massive startup fee of like $1,500, and then they're like another $500 to $600 a month for an individual agent, and that's not included if you have a team. So I think that what you get with Command is actually the best bang for the buck probably in real estate, because you can use it not only as like your phone book where you store notes on people and their birthdays and all that stuff, but the smart plans, which I've been yelling from the mountaintops, are absolutely huge. They're great. I love the fact that you can create your own smart plan, right? It's not just these pre-made templates you download. You can create your own smart plan, which I did. And basically what it is, I've reached out to agents out of state and I put them on a smart plan. And once a month, it'll email them and say, hey, this is Sean Ybarra from KW LA Harbor. Do you have anyone who's relocating to the Los Angeles area or Southern California? Here's the referral fee I'm offering. Please let me know, right? And I just, to go back to the early 2000s, I set it and forget it, and it's made my life a lot easier. I've always struggled with keeping in touch with people, follow-ups, because life just gets in the way, right? Whether it's, you can lose a whole day just chatting with coworkers, or you're responding to emails, or you're doing showings and things just slip your mind. It's so easy to lose contact with people for extended periods. And so by utilizing these smart plans, it allows me to stay in front of everybody, right? My friends and family, they're on a birthday smart plan. So when it's near their birthday, it sends them a notification, hey, or an email, hey, happy birthday, right? People I meet at open house, there's an open house specific one that was made by Nick Baldwin, who I believe is the lab coat agent. So there's smart plans for everything you could think of, right? From open houses, contacts you lost follow up with, the 8x8s, the 5x5s, the neighborhood nurtures, and all of them serve a great purpose and a great use. I love to use them. I try to put everyone on them, and I really encourage everybody to start using Command, especially now if you have a title rep like the reps that we have, Ron and Grant, where they can not only pull an Excel sheet with owner info, right? But they can pull it in a Command specific format. So all you do is you upload them right into Command, right? But now that you have not just their name, their mailing address, their phone number, and their email, right? When you put them into Command, Command also allows you to target people within your database. Right. So if you want, let's say you're having an event, right? Let's say an open house, right? And okay, I want to run an ad through Command for my open house, the week leading up to it. Well, I can target everybody specifically in my database by doing what I just told you to do, right? So now everyone that's in my database, everyone that knows me knows that I'm going to have an open house, and it's going to connect to their sphere too. So now everyone they know knows that there's going to be an open house, right? And it also gives you a little bit more social proof because, hey, I know this person, he's been doing this for X amount of time, I highly recommend them, whatever it is they're going to do, right? It just keeps you front of face forever, because people always go with the first person they think of when it comes to not just real estate, I guess really anything, right? Yes. If you can stay in front of them, stay on top of mind, there's a good chance they're going to remember you, and they're going to, reach out to you, because when they think of real estate, if they've seen your face 1,000 times, they're going to say, oh yeah, I remember that guy.
Yep, absolutely. No, I love that. And, I've noticed you've kind of upped your social media game quite heavily. How has that been coming along, and have you seen any ROI on that?
Yeah, it's funny because I think people have this misconception, and like I've always been big on like social media. I just enjoy it. I've got friends all over the country, but for me, the way it works is I think that people get this wrong idea, right? They post like a picture and it says like, March sales tip, start, redoing your roof or something, like those really generic ones. And that's what I was posting at first too. And I noticed that the algorithm would just throttle my engagement, right? Whereas I might average like, between 30 and 50 likes per post. Those ones would get like 4.
Right.
And I was like, man, what the heck is going on here? Why is this not getting any reach? And so I started reading more into it. And, right now, because TikTok is just the platform for social media, so every other platform now is really pushing videos. So videos are getting the most reach, right? And really the algorithm does change. But as far as like the ROI goes, what I've noticed is I start getting way more, not just engagement, but people reaching out to me, leaving comments, sending me a message, right? When I started posting the videos, but it's the videos about real opportunities, right? It's not, at least for me, it wasn't the videos of like, hey, I'm Sean, I sell real estate. It was more so the videos of like, when Ishmael, for example, gave us the loan programs he has with the 1% down program or the $25,000 to close. Yes. I made a video about that, and I had several people reach out to me for more information on it, including like one of my cousins, which Ish is now in the process of pre-qualifying. So we get them started. People also like videos of like, hey, this area is a good, I did a video on TikTok about San Pedro, right? Because San Pedro is getting a lot of development going on. It's really starting to come up. There's a lot of stuff going on there. The $1 billion waterfront development project, Yamashiro coming to San Pedro, the mixed use condo, right? All that kind of stuff. So when I was like, hey, this is a great town to invest in because you got a lot of appreciation potential, then people were saying, hey, what are prices over there? Can you send me some stuff? And kind of engaging that way. So you almost have to think of it from the other way. What would you want to watch? If you're going to watch a real estate video, right? Or if you watch a lot of HGTV, what do you like to watch? You want to watch people that are investing things, right? Loan programs, what's going on with the real estate market. Is there any sort of like real estate scam going on, like that one that Ro and Ish told us about over in San Bernardino? People love that kind of stuff, just because it is interesting, right? If you're going to invest in something, you want to be able to have as big a ROI as possible, right? So you would want to know the towns that present that kind of opportunity. So my advice to you on the social media is, one, you should have what they call omnipresence, right? So if you're going to make a blog post on your website, that blog post should also be a TikTok video and a YouTube video, right? It should also be an Instagram post. It should be a tweet. It should also be in your newsletter. Everything should feed into each other, right? And that's how you can save a lot of time. Is it shouldn't be, okay, well, I'm going to write this blog post, but I'm going to post about this. Everything should like kind of just all circulate into each other, right? It kind of gives you that solidified branding, if you will, that everything is all linked in together.
Well, it's also consistency and uniformity too,
Exactly.
right?
Yes, absolutely.
You want to absolutely be that person that is one and not several.
Right. Exactly.
No, I love that. Thank you. So you had earned the Gold Award, so congratulations on that.
Thank you.
What is the next step? I mean, what is your goal for 2023? How do you want your business to look like a year from now?
So for me, 2023, we hear a lot of, the recession's here, the market's slowing down, interest rates are high. And while all of those things are true, right? What I feel like I'm hearing a lot of right now, just online forums and other agents I see talking about online is, oh, it's going to be a slow year. You got to do this, this, and that. You're going to have to work, 3 times as hard, which is, it might be true to an extent, but regardless, people are still going to need to sell their houses, right? People pass away, they need to downsize, they need to upgrade, they get a job, they need to, move to where the job is, or they need to move further away or closer to children. People always need to buy a house, right? People always need somewhere to live. And the reality is that, in California, you buy for appreciation, right? That's how you build wealth in California, is through property appreciation. And if we can convey that to people, right? It's not just oh, do you like the bathroom? Oh, well, now's a great time to buy because interest rates are low. And I've seen a lot of people get stumped. It's like, well, the interest rates are high. Why should I buy right now? And people are like, oh, well, the truth is, whatever you buy for today, even if it dips temporarily in a year or 2 years, right, as we go into the middle of the recession, if you can teach your clients to think long term, right? Don't think 6 months or 12 months in the future. Don't even think 2 or 3 years in the future. You got to think 7 to 10 years in the future, because that's usually the average lifespan of a house, right? People move in, they live there for about 7 years, they sell it off and move. And realistically, within that time frame, you should have built appreciation. Even more so if your client has purchased in an area that is, being developed and is having, economic growth, right? There's more jobs there. They will have that appreciation that they can then use to either pull out and invest or sell off, take the profits and buy a bigger house. So my goal for 2023 is I would love to earn the double gold award. That's my goal. By the end of 2023, I'd actually prefer sooner. I'm trying to hire an ISA to start covering in the gaps that I have in my business. And, like I said, I don't like doing cold calls, but if I could find someone that could do my cold calls for me, set my appointments, right? They line them up, I knock them down.
Right.
I think I should probably be able to realistically at least double my production. So my goal this year, I think last year I did 7 deals, including, a couple commercial leases. My goal this year is to put up at least 15 million in sales. So that is my goal for the year. That's what I'm aiming for.
I love that. Well, you have the tenacity, you have the grit, and I mean, we had this conversation earlier. Are you a cow or a buffalo? And I like to
Mhm.
know for a fact that you're the buffalo. So definitely, keep up the amazing work that you're doing, and congratulations on your successes as well. So we have new agents that's on this call, and we also have veteran agents as well. What is
Mhm.
your one thing, advice to all the agents
Mhm.
on this call that they should be doing right now?
My one piece of advice is sit down with a notepad and a pen, and you think of 4 to 5 ways that you don't mind lead generating, and you do it consistently every single day, right? So if you're going to do open houses, do 2 a week, especially if you're starting out. Add everyone that you meet into your CRM, right? But pick 4 to 5 ways that you can lead generate and do it consistently every single day, right? So if you want to join social clubs, you want to go door knocking, you want to do your open houses, you want to run online ads, you want to do fundraisers or community events or join clubs, right? Go out there and socialize, because that's where the business is done. It's done meeting people, right? Like I'm sure you guys have seen the old stereotype of like 2 guys out on the golf course and they're talking about business or whatever. That's really kind of what it is. Like, this is a fun job. This is a fun career. In my opinion, it's the best industry in the world because you can make as much as a doctor or a lawyer and not need 12 years of school, and you get to do it having fun, meeting people, wherever it is that you meet them or however it is that you meet them, you stay in contact with them. So I'd say my one piece of advice is pick 4 or 5 ways that you're going to lead gen and do it every single day and do it consistently. All forms of lead gen work, but the one that works the best is the one that you do consistently.
Agreed.
And that's my biggest piece of advice is just be lead genning constantly. And I think a lot of people get confused on like the lead gen part versus the lead gen prep. They're getting ready to make their calls, they settle down or whatever else it is they're going to do. They're going to, however it is, the actual lead gen is talking to people, spending time with people, right? Engaging with them, sending them information, and convincing them that you're the right person for the job. So you should be, I try to do it myself too. You should be trying to lead gen every single day and do it consistently.
Yep, I love that. Well, thank you. Well, thank you so much for your time. That went by so quick. I can't believe it's
That
already
sure did.
man.
I'm a bit of a talker.
No,
So
and we appreciate that. Thank you so much for all the golden nuggets. I hope that everyone on this call did pick up at least an aha moment. Does anyone have any questions before we let Sean go and so he can start his day? Nope, I think we're good.
nope. All righty.
Oh,
All right. Oh, wait,
awesome.
hold on.
Christine's already following you. I love that.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. All right, guys. Well, yeah, if you guys want to find me, my Instagram tag, everything on social media is Sean Selling LA, all one word. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions, whether it's online or in person. I'm usually in the office Monday through Friday, and I'd be happy to help you out.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Sean. We really appreciate you. We're so grateful to be in business with you as well. And I guess I'll see you later in the office.
All right. See you later, Mary.
Bye,
Bye.
you guys. Take care.
Woo, thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.